Welcome to Power Women of the Trades podcast. This show is all about breaking barriers and changing the game. Our guests will feature some of today's most successful female entrepreneurs and other advocates of our industry as well. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, female-led entrepreneurship drives change on multiple levels. We want to empower women in the trade industry like you so you can maximize your potential, stay balanced, achieve long-term success, and claim ownership over your life. Let's get started.
Hi, welcome to Power Women of the Trades podcast with Cassie and Leslie. We're so excited here today to have Cheryl Lanahan from Plum Books. If you're in any of the social media groups or have been on social media or maybe even to any of the events in our trade events, you may know exactly who Cheryl is. If not, we're super excited to introduce you to her. Cheryl has a really cool story about how she got into the trades or how you learned. Let me back up on that for a second, because I remember hearing you tell me this story. So you were in a different industry before. Is that correct?
Yeah, the industry was homeschooling my children. I was in the industry for 15 years, and let me tell you, it does not pay well.
It doesn't. See, that's what it was. I was like, I knew there was something. And then you jumped into bookkeeping from working with someone else and then decided that you had that passion for helping the trades, right?
Yeah, I worked for a plumber for a little bit, and then I moved to a different state and decided I wanted to keep working with the industry, and here we are.
I am excited about this because something that Cheryl does a really good job at is she's really focuses on companies with 6 trucks or fewer. That's kind of like your sweet spot, right? And I think what's really unique about that and important about that is most of the time trucks or companies with 6 trucks or fewer have zero clue what's going on with their books. True or false? True. I'm going to be real honest with you. I have like 20.
Or they're just starting to learn that they need to.
Or that they need
There's an awareness. They're not dummies.
I want to be like
maybe
the real and raw here, though, because like I have like 28 trucks.
And you still don't know.
And I still don't know. Because
hope no one ever reads our text messages.
Yeah. No, I think that's truth for everybody, though. I don't care who you have helping you in your books. There's still a little bit that's confusing, especially if you're using.
And there's different levels of what you want to know.
Well, and then
it's like new level unlocked. Now you can read this and understand this, but how you can go so granular into these numbers that if you're not made that way, you'll just fall over.
Well, and then I think it's interesting how the different people you speak to have a different representation of certain things, like average tickets and where this should go and where that should go. And how is that, Cheryl? Like when if you're working with a company that has never had anyone helping them and they think they know, what does that look like?
Well, usually they don't think they know. They usually come in knowing, I don't know, what's going on. And so you have to start really high level. And I really enjoy working with these kind of companies because of that, because everyone's telling them, look at this, look at this, look at this, and they don't know what to do. And I can help them look at the really important part. Okay, let's look at the big pieces of the puzzle and look at those and figure them out. And then you can look at the next level down. And just like you were saying, Leslie, like, new level unlocked, you got to start at the basic level before you can unlock the other levels. And so I really like helping people do that.
And you almost can't even tell them about the other levels, right? It's like, here's what you need to know right now. And then you got to breadcrumb them to.
Yeah. Then to the next thing. That's the hardest thing and I'm trying to take myself back to like being at 6 trucks. And I also like want to think about the people that I know listening that are like at 1 truck, or you're still the operator in the truck, or your husband's the operator and you're doing the bookkeeping yourself, but you don't know a dang thing about bookkeeping. That was our life. Like I didn't know nothing. Still, I hired Cheryl to help us at quality, And again, we're in a different realm and still having to fix things from our, like the ghosts of my past are still haunting me because I thought I knew how to do QuickBooks. And
they really always haunt you on that balance sheet.
Yeah. And it's like, what is that? And I'm like, I don't know. We haven't even had that vehicle for like 4 years.
We haven't talked about that in a long time. Why is it still there?
Why is that even still here?
We've moved on. You need to move on too.
Yeah.
Okay?
Do you have to like, so for someone, and then there's a lot of people who don't reach out to someone like you or are scared to because they're embarrassed.
Yep.
Do you see that a lot? Like, because they don't know.
Actually.
You don't?
I don't see that a lot.
Maybe it's just me that I would never reach out.
Well, and I want that stigma to go away. I don't think that it's anything to be embarrassed about. You're running a successful company. You have trucks on the road. You've employed people. I mean, you are doing stuff and making it happen. And, you know, if you can't figure out your books, I don't think that's such a big deal. It's like,
Leslie always says
that's
your
not
books,
what you're supposed to be doing, kind of.
Your books is like your naked picture.
I know.
It's like sending a dirty picture.
No, it's nothing like that.
Yes,
it's
it
just
is.
one
It's
component.
only like that when you invite other people in, okay? It's like, as long as it's between me and the bookkeeper, we're okay. But when other people want to start seeing it.
And I think, though, that people think they see these things on social media and they're like, everyone's running, these companies are running a 20% net. And you're like, no, they're not. Or these people have zero debt. And you're like, probably not. You know what I mean? Now, are some of them, is that true for everybody? No.
It's not even realistic.
Some people, maybe they are, you know, but for the most part, we all got some debt and we all got some demons in our closet and we all got some times when we almost lost the whole company and we all got that. And I think for me, so I guess maybe I'm just speaking for myself now because Cheryl's like not seen that a ton, but it is hard. And maybe that's the woman side is it's hard to ask for help and not feel embarrassed because it's gotten to that point.
I always felt like maybe there's something to it because we are women. And I have felt like on this journey of, you know, you go into business with your husband, he's the contractor. So the assumption is the woman's answering the phone and handling the books. And so they would have a level of confidence there. And I just never did. I mean, well, I just always knew immediately we had to have a professional working in that area. Like we couldn't afford not to because you don't want me doing it, right? So I think maybe it's because there's a level of assumption there because we've been managing the home and maybe managing the home finances that we would come into it and just have a knowing of all the things in the business. So it feels a little like...
Yeah. So one thing...
Well, I want to dispel that right now because this isn't easy. It is not easy. If it was easy, you wouldn't need people like me. And it's just not easy work, especially with the different software and connecting it all and figuring out how it all works together. And yeah, it's not easy work. So don't be embarrassed. Nobody listening should be embarrassed that things don't look like they should because that's not what you went to school to do or that's not your profession. And it's not easy.
Right.
Yeah. So one thing that I know that you have that I wanted to talk about because I personally use this at Quality is your Plum Books reporting. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Plum Books reporting.
Yeah.
So if you know Cheryl, there's a couple ways that she can help you in your business. She can do just the full complete bookkeeping, which I think you have a wait list for because highly sought after.
We're going to be bringing on new clients at the end of this year.
Oh, good. Good. That's good.
Between now and the end of the year, we got
if you need someone, Cheryl is your gal, but you got to get on her list. That is for the full bookkeeping. And then you do some consulting, which is really where we were at with Quality. And so what was a huge help for us where, you know, you just like twice a week, you worked with my team to get us into some cleanup because the real and raw for us, why we needed that is we had formerly had someone that we thought was doing a great job and they weren't. And so, but then the next thing is the Plum Books reporting. And I want to talk about that because that you don't even have to do anything else with you, right? You can just purchase the Plum Books reporting. But what that's been helpful for me is that you put in your parameters of like where your cost of goods and all of that should be. And then you have a monthly report that's much better to me than looking at your report, because there's graphs and there's color, and I'm a visual. And I look at that over my QuickBooks reporting, knowing that it's completely in QuickBooks as well. But I've used that reporting, like 3 months. We have made a jump in our net profit because of that report, like 4 points, because I could go, okay, what the hell? Like I could see it.
It was
and
simple
it
to
was
look at.
so much easier to look at, because if you hand me a P&L, I'm like, okay, right? But on your reporting, you put in, okay, so cost of goods is 29% and direct labor is whatever percent, and you have that all in there. And so then it's going to tell you, this is what you've spent, and this is what you spent versus your budget. And I was able to turn that directly around to our team and say, guys, we overspent. This is real. In last month, we overspent cost of goods by $50,000. What? Right? But guess what? We missed our net profit by $50,000. Right? So whenever I start looking at that and I could see it like that, because again, you can throw me a P&L and you can throw me reporting, but those are just a bunch of numbers that aren't showing me like where my actual problem is, and I'm not seeing it versus that budget. And so what inspired you to, I guess, create that reporting?
Well, first of all, I'm so excited that that's what that did for you, because that's why I made them. I made them for exactly that purpose. And so I am thrilled. I'm thrilled that's working out for you. What inspired me is one of the first clients I worked with wanted to know certain things. And so I made an Excel spreadsheet, and, 4 years ago, and I would copy and paste from QuickBooks so that we could have the numbers. And then I added colors and I added graphs. And so I added a whole bunch more sheets. By the time 4 years go by, talk to a lot of clients, what they want to see and what's going to be helpful. That's how they came about.
Does it report your Ebitda?
It does now, as of the first of the year.
Yeah,
that was
that's
one of the
super
newest
cool.
ones that we added.
Yep. And so you can see like this month, last month, this month to date, last month, and then the year, correct?
Yep. And then all year long, we have like 5 things broken down. You can look at your gross revenue, your cost of goods sold, and your direct labor. So from there, you're going to get your gross profit. So you can look at that by month.
Mm-hmm.
And then your overhead things that we track are advertising, vehicle expense, your overhead labor, and everything else. Overhead labor is a big one that sometimes
just
gets
kills you.
caught.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes it just kills you.
Well, sometimes it does. And then for us, it was looking like it was killing us, but I recognized that, because you can change your parameters through her report of what your budget for each is. And overhead labor kept looking like it was killing me, but based off of my actual budget that I was budgeting for, it was still in the budget. I just had to change my parameter, because we actually budget for a higher overhead labor than most, because I have always believed in bringing in the inside staff sooner than I need them, if that makes sense. And not everyone believes in that. Okay, I know. Not everyone believes in that. I'm about to drop his name, but I'm not.
Get him.
Landon. I know not everyone believes in that, but I got that from a previous company that I worked for that has nothing to do with the trades. And we were just always prepared for the next. And it's always helped me in my next level of growth. And so, but again, it's totally your way of running your business and what you want to do. But that reporting, that is like, if you are like me, everything I do has to be a visual. I'm really struggling in that piece of my life right now, building a house, because it's like, hey, see this and this. And I'm like, I got to see them together. But having your reporting show me those graphs, show me the percentage, show me my actual overage. It's even made me go in and be like, well, wait a second. I've caught accounting errors where we had something tied to somewhere that it shouldn't have been, because I could see that. So I'm a huge fan of the reporting, frankly.
Awesome.
Well, this is the first time hearing of it, but especially I guess it would work. It could be helpful as like a starter for someone who can still manage their own books if you didn't want to do the full service and you just want to.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Because we have in-house and we're managing our books, but it's just giving me as the owner, and I don't know what the fee is off the top of my head. And that's for Cheryl to talk to you guys about. But instead of having to go into QuickBooks, pull the reporting and then try to navigate from there, I can go to this direct link and it updates every morning and I can see the revenue. Now, obviously, if you're in Service Titan, you got to make sure you've exported your invoices.
It updates every morning?
Yes.
Wow.
With QuickBooks data. So as long as your QuickBooks is good, your reports will be good.
Awesome.
It's really good stuff. So
no more waiting by the 10th of the month, 15th to get a P&L?
Nope. You can see it in the middle of the month if you want. Well, it's not a P&L, but
yeah, and I think the biggest thing you have to remember, though,
but you're usually looking at the P&L to see those 5 categories that you just talked about anyway. So if it's on there and it updates.
I asked because I want to see it like even weekly. So I look at it daily, but I know that sometimes it's going to be a little skewed because some invoices might not be exported that are showing revenue and those types of things. So I really push my team to make sure that I can look at accurate numbers on Mondays for the week behind to make sure that everything's exported and imported. So now I can at least see a true month to date on every Monday, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're not waiting on numbers to export.
That's a good practice.
What do you think, Cheryl, is when you're helping a new company or a new customer of yours, what do you think is the hardest thing for the owners to change?
What do you mean change?
Yeah, what do you mean? Like change how they're spending?
If you're like, they're spending because I think immediately cost of goods is like the materials. I get pushback in my own team and I'm the owner, right? Like I get pushback on my own team of like, well, we needed those materials and we needed that. Like when you're suggesting changes, what do you think is the hardest for them to adapt to?
Well, I do work with smaller shops and most of the time we spend the first, 3 to 6 months just onboarding, getting the systems down so we can have good numbers to look at. And then once you have the numbers, that's when you know what to change. So it's different for every company. I had one company, their overhead labor for their labor in the office was just out of control. And unfortunately, they didn't rein it in. So it didn't work out. But you could look at the reports and know right away, this is your problem. Other ones have cost of goods and it makes them realize that, oh, we just need to charge more. We're not going to get cheaper parts. Our labor is right in line, but we're not making a profit. And it's because they just needed to raise their rates.
That's a hard one.
So it depends upon what the reports show and you know exactly what to fix.
Well, and there's some industry standards that you can use as a guideline.
Yeah.
And most people probably don't know. They're not going to know that till they hire someone like Cheryl.
Yeah, we pop in with some basic standards and then they can adjust from there. Like you were saying, Cassie, where you said, well, my overhead labor is more than other people and you just adjust a percentage.
What do you think the industry standard for overhead labor is?
The one I got was 15%, I think.
Of overhead labor?
Maybe it was 10.
I think it's maybe
I should know that.
10% of total revenue or 10% of just your overhead in general?
No, gross revenue. So I think it's 15% of your gross revenue.
Okay. I think everyone is so off. And this is what scares me sometimes about the industry is I've heard people say 10. I've heard people say 6. There's no way you could do 6.
I've never been given a percentage, not even by Nextstar.
Yeah. And it can range. Like we run at like 11%. And some people could say I'm overstaffed, but 11% gives me the building staff that I feel comfortable with to provide the level of customer service that I expect for our team to give. And, but then there's the ratios between how many people are on the inside versus the outside and those types of things too.
Yeah. You're going to get 100 answers on that.
With the what?
With the smaller shops, the owner's pay is in that. And usually that's why it's a decent amount of money. So it can push that percentage up
to that.
And they 15. Can still be profitable.
Yeah. There's lots of things to change there and lots of things to really grasp. But I think one thing that I hope people learn from is learn from me. You need a
learn from me. I'll tell you everything I did wrong.
Yes. You need a freaking bookkeeper.
Yeah.
I have an in-house now, Amy, and Cheryl talks to Amy frequently if she needs. I love that about Cheryl because, again, we have our own in-house, but we use Cheryl for consulting.
That's a cool service to provide, and to people who don't want to maybe take on the full package but like still want your expertise. That's actually a very cool add-on.
Yeah, and I love they added the spot on our P&L that says ask my accountant, and I think Cheryl added that, and I was literally like, that is really smart, because I think what happens sometimes is things would get shoved places because they didn't know.
Oh, I still find that. I still have to go through my line items. Yeah.
And you're just like, why is this here? What's
Right.
happening here?
Right. For sure.
So numbers are scary. They don't have to be.
Yeah.
Do they make you happy, Cheryl? Do numbers just make you happy? And
They do, especially when that number at the bottom is large and black.
yes,
And
making
bold.
money. Yes,
bold.
this is the number we like. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, we wanted to talk to you about, helping jump that hurdle of, I can't do it by myself and you need help. So I know that you are, for a smaller company or for a newer company or for a company that, again, like I said, was my size, and we had been through a really bad bookkeeper, and I needed someone who knew the industry standards like Cheryl and knew how to help me, because we still have our external accountant, but our external accountant will often say, I don't know this industry as well.
Well, and
right?
they play two different roles. Like your external accountant is trying to do something totally different than bookkeeping and that. So you can't, you almost can't even
Put them in the same.
No. Yeah. They're both necessary, but in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, we provide operational numbers, and they really work on the tax side.
Mm-hmm.
And you need both.
You need both.
And you really need that if you have not made a decision, you haven't started talking to someone doing your bookkeeping outside of your office. If you've been self-taught on QuickBooks, now's your time to start talking to someone like Cheryl who can help you.
Delegate it.
Yes, because your books are not as pretty as you once thought they were. I promise you that. If I was someone I was wanting to get in touch with you to either get on your list to do all of my bookkeeping or consulting or to purchase your reporting, how would I do that?
All of that is on my website, plumbooks.net, with two B's, obviously,
Plumbooks.net.
plumbooks.net. And on the services page, you can download a chart of accounts. If you just want a free chart of accounts, that's there. If you want to ask about the reporting, that's there. If you want to inquire about bookkeeping, there. If you want to book me for just some consultations, that's there.
Okay. So, and then I guess one question, I know we have people that are listening that are electric or concrete companies or garage door companies. Are you really just plumbing only, or have you?
Mostly it's plumbing, electrical, HVAC. I have a garage door, but pretty much anyone using Housecall Pro, Service Titan,
Okay.
basically doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's who we work with.
That's great, because she does have experience with both Service Titan and Housecall Pro, and I think Sarah as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
awesome.
a few others.
And a few others. Good. So I know that was one of my very first hurdles, was talking to someone who had no experience with Service Titan. And I feel like you kind of have to know that stuff to be able to understand where the numbers are coming, because sometimes that's your problem. Not necessarily Service Titan or QuickBooks, but you are the problem of getting your stuff from Service Titan to QuickBooks.
And if your books aren't done right, it is so easy to double what your income is on your books, for it to look doubled and for it not to be.
Yep.
So, and that just comes from knowing how the software works and how they work together.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Well, Cheryl, we have loved getting to talk to you today. We'll make sure to include in the show notes how to get in touch with you. And if anyone listening to learn from me, if you do nothing else, I would sign up right now for her reporting. And you will be pleasantly surprised with how much of a visual. I'm going to get off of here and show Leslie what mine looks like so she can see it. It's so cool to just see the numbers in person, or in that visual, and not necessarily on just a black and white sheet of paper.
I
good
can't
stuff.
wait.
Yeah, the P&L is ugly to look at.
And stressful. I
Somebody
see
finally
it.
said it.
Yes, it is. And I see it, and then I go straight to the bottom, and then there's no context. I just look at the bottom number, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, but then I'm not really paying attention to the context of what made that number and how to fix it. But now I mean, we made a 4-point change in our net profit just by being able to pay attention to what was affecting it so big.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Anyway, Cheryl, it's so
Thank
good
you,
to talk to
Cheryl.
you. Thank you.
You too. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
We'll talk to you soon. Have a good rest of your day.
This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review in Apple and make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.